As we said in the morning, the afternoon's very much going to focus on attainment. Obviously, we have a huge attainment challenge just now nationally. We have our own attainment challenge locally. And it was quite interesting. This morning I was reading something about reductions in local government budgets and so on. And there was a piece in the press talking about the additional money that's been pumped into attainment nationally. But I think we always need to remember that in Moray we're actually not getting much of that resource. We're getting our attainment advisor time, and we're hugely grateful for that. And Alan's had a huge impact already in the short time he's been working with us. And that's 45 days this year, 45 days next year. But there are some schools in other areas of the country getting huge amounts of money because of deprivation. And you know, as I've said before at head teachers meetings, we have our own attainment challenge. We have huge issues in relation to rural deprivation in some of our communities that really hasn't been picked up by the Scottish Attainment Challenge, in my view. So, you know, we do have our own challenges moving forward with this agenda. Very quickly, I'm going to curtail what I was going to say. I was going to start with the OECD report, and I won't go into any great depth with this. You've all had a copy of it, you've perhaps had the chance to read it. OECD spent a fair bit of last year in Scotland looking at curriculum for excellence throughout the broad general education. And here are the four big challenges that we face as a country. The declining in absolute achievement levels in maths, smaller relative numbers of top reading performers, this issue of liking school, particularly in secondary, drops sharply compared to other European countries. And of course we still have a minority of schools at or below satisfactory in terms of inspection evidence. Looking at that, I can relate to that from a Moray context, and that's obviously nationwide. If I take it down to Moray level now, sorry, I'll skip that one. If I go down to Moray level, what are our specific challenges that we face? Well, prioritisation. You know, what are our priorities? And it's back to that decluttering that David spoke about this morning. If attainment's going to be the #1 agenda, if that's going to be the top of everyone's list, what are we going to stop doing or do a little bit differently? And that goes for my central team in terms of if their priority is to support you with attainment, then they have to stop doing other things to allow that to happen. And equally for you in schools, if attainment's the priority, how are we going to achieve that? And what are you going to declutter and remove to allow you that space and freedom to be creative and to think creatively with your staff, with your families and your parents and your pupils and so on. The second one is round about raising expectations and tackling complacency. When I go out and about and visit schools, and I appreciate I don't do that as much as I used to, but still try and get a couple in a month, it's something that primary heads in particular raise with me. Because Moray is such a nice place to live and to work, and children generally, I'm really selling it, Trish, aren't you? Glad you're coming. It's such a great place to be. Pupils are very easy, by and large, to teach here and to work with. People become quite complacent, and it's back to David's point. You know, you might have a teacher who's been in your school 40 years, but they've actually just taught 1 year and they've repeated it 39 times over. And some of you have raised that as an issue. How do you really challenge them and raise the bar for your staff? And they are very pushed just now in terms of everything we're asking of them, but how do you raise the bar and really challenge their practice? And how do you get time as school leaders to go in and challenge their practice and work with them, particularly those of you that are teaching, and I know many of you are just now. And you know, I can relate to that one in terms of complacency. When I came to Moray, prior to being in Moray, I taught at Fraserburgh Academy in Aberdeenshire, which is quite an interesting shift. And when I moved to Moray, I remember going into Keith Grammar School as a modern languages principal teacher, ready for battle, because that's what you did in Fraserburgh. You went into school ready for battle with all your tools and your strong voice and everything else ready. And I went into a bottom set, a foundation general class, ready for the fight. And there was just fantastic, biddable, charming Keith youngsters willing to learn. And even the ones that weren't willing to learn were unbelievably nice and pleasant and polite. And you do take your foot off the pedal a little bit. And it is just such a nice place to be. And that's something that's come up in a few conversations I've had with primary heads in particular. These staff that have been around for a while, and they're coasting. And how do we raise the bar for them and challenge them? Tracking and monitoring progress throughout the BGE, huge issue for us just now. I know Karen's leading a group, I don't know where Karen's gone, but I know she's leading a group on that some of you are involved in, and that'll be taken forward at a future head teachers meeting. There's been quite a fair bit of progress with that recently, which I've been really pleased to see. Moderation, again, that understanding of what good moderation looks like and how we achieve the time through your working time agreements and so on to achieve it, to make it happen. And of course, numeracy is one that I have mentioned several times over the past couple of years, and it's one we're not cracking. We do have a big problem with numeracy in our schools, and we need to address it. So I've done that very rapidly because I am conscious of time, and David's leaving us later in the afternoon before the end. I mentioned that we've got Alan Urquhart with us from Education Scotland as our attainment advisor, and you're aware that as part of the Scottish Attainment Challenge, all authorities have attainment advisor time, some full-time, some 75 days. We've 45 days per year. As I've said, Alan's already done a fair bit of work with a number of primary schools with the central officer team, and I know that that's been going really well, and people have been raving about it, Alan, for want of a better expression. So you're very welcome this afternoon, and delighted you can give an input now. So would you please all join me in welcoming Alan to the stage.